Well, are you? I kind of am. Are You Afraid of the Dark took up a large part of my childhood. I loved this show. It was sort of like the kids' X-Files. Every single episode was a bunch of kids who gather around a campfire at night and tell each other ghost stories. They're known as the Midnight Society. And every single story they tell is then played out for us and we get to watch them. The show was filmed in Canada right around the same time Goosebumps was filmed in Canada. And one of the things that's most fun for me is that as also a fan of Goosebumps, I noticed that the shows both swap actors quite often. In fact, the entirety of season 6, every single episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark has an actor or actress that was in an episode of Goosebumps. There are 7 seasons in total. The first 5 seasons all aired in succession, 1 year at a time, and then there was a 3-year hiatus, and seasons 6 and 7 aired after that. The first 5 seasons are easily the best. In fact, the finale of season 5 has a genuinely terrifying moment that even as an adult, I said to myself when this scene happened, oh, shit!
I want to show you something.
You know, I don't think we're supposed to...
As an adult, that startled me, but can you imagine being a middle schooler and seeing that for the first time? I mean, scarred for life. As a kid, I loved this show because of the imagination. Every episode was different. It was always a different story about something scary, and since I loved scary stuff as a kid, and I've grown up continuing to love scary films and scary TV shows, as a kid, this was one of my favorite things to do. It was big on Nickelodeon back in the day. I remember they had marathons of it from time to time. Sometimes it was on Saturday night's Snick block, and you weren't in school, and it's time to get scared, and it was just so much fun. The intro to this show, the intro still gives me chills. I mean, just look at this. Freaking clown, man! This show even inspired a lot of Hollywood filmmakers. M. Night Shyamalan was heavily inspired by The Tale of the Dream Girl, and he made The Sixth Sense as a result. This show inspired me a lot as a kid, and it continues to inspire me today, even though when you go back and rewatch it, it's clearly dated. But you have to recognize it was aimed at middle schoolers. And if I can watch it as an adult and still be entertained, even though there's obviously some nostalgia there, that's not too bad. After the hiatus, season 6 definitely tapered down in regards to quality. There's still a few good episodes in there. I like the last episode of the season, which, by the way, stars Hayden Christensen, who also was in an episode of Goosebumps. As I said, season 6 of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Every episode has somebody from Goosebumps in it. It's like the same people made it or something, or they knew the casting agency or whatever. They just traded off actors. That's what Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark did. But for me in elementary school and through middle school, watching Are You Afraid of the Dark felt almost like I was sort of sneaking something my parents maybe wouldn't have wanted me to watch at the time. It was like they were okay with it, they knew what it was on Nickelodeon, but when I watched it, I felt like I was just sort of sneaking it by. And I think for a lot of kids, they had a similar experience because it felt like it was just maybe a little more mature than everything else they were used to. And back then, sometimes my friends and I would build a fort or something and read scary stories to each other. I don't know how much inspired by Are You Afraid of the Dark we were while doing that, but I know now thinking back on those times that I definitely connect those two events. Are You Afraid of the Dark and reading scary stories underneath a blanket fort. There's nothing better than that when you're a kid. There's nothing better than sitting around with your friends and scaring the wits out of each other. And this show did that for us, and it still holds up mostly today. Some episodes are not too good, just like the Goosebumps show. But I understand what the show was going for, and for that I appreciate it. Did you guys have a favorite scary show when you were a kid? There were a lot in the 90s. It was really popular, largely because of the X-Files. There were shows like So Weird on the Disney Channel, Ghost Rider, Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark? There were a lot of shows like that for me when I was a kid. What's your favorite? Guys, thank you so much for watching another episode of Retro Rewind, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized. Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society. I call this story The Tale of Are You Afraid of the Dark Retro Rewind. That was a really long title.